Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome back to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mac.
And what are we doing today, Mac?
We are going through our D's, Zach.
That's part of our alphabet soup.
Yes. So we're 4 letters of the alphabet in here.
And it is mid to late April.
So we're doing good.
I mean, I think a lot of these letters are a little bit longer, especially C, I think is
Yeah.
our longest by at least a factor of 3. So I expected these first letters to take a while, but I think we started pretty strong. I think we're now losing maybe the edge we had. 'Cause I think we were a little ahead, and now we're probably about even again.
Yeah, well, I think D's
based on what we
too
have.
were a lot of games for me to learn, so I think that also probably slowed us down a little bit. But
Yeah, and looking at the next couple letters, that's
Yeah.
probably not going to change that much. I think there's still going to be quite
yeah,
a few
F
that
does
you
not
haven't
look
played.
good. I can't believe there's like 4 or 5 games in F, and I don't think I've played like 3 or 4 of them. So
But I think if I remember right, outside of one, Forgotten Waters takes a little bit longer. I think the rest of them are relatively shorter, a little simpler. So
yeah.
hopefully that won't be too much.
Yeah.
But we will get into our Ds and kind of talk about any of them that are new to either one of us. More than likely more you, but a couple for me as well. And then if we are going to keep them or cull them, or kind of if they're maybe the next on the chopping block.
Wow. All right.
First, we'll just start right off with
Okay.
one that neither of us had played until this year.
Yeah. So Dixit, you picked it up, and I didn't really know what it was, but you said, "Hey, it's a party game. Check it out." And I was like, "All right." So we finally got it to the table, and it's really fun. It's really simple. You just you have cards with pictures on them, and you say a word and try and get people to either guess yours or others. So
Yeah.
pretty
Yep.
simple.
Yeah, like you said, I picked it up at Barnes and Noble. I think it was like $12 or something,
Yeah.
some cheap price. And I know I'd heard
Bargain
a lot of people talk about how good of a game it is, and I'm always looking for a couple easier type party games so that we have a few more to play if either of our parents ever wanted to play games with us. And I thought this would kind of fit that type of thing because it's kind of similar to some of the sort of similar to like apples to apples,
Yeah.
the rule set type, but I think I like how this one works a little bit better, just because you're given some random photos or pictures, and
You just
it
have
could
to
be
make-
really be anything.
You just have to make what work what you have in your hand.
Yeah,
So
and sometimes that leads to not having the best picture, maybe
Yeah.
not the best options, but it's still fun to argue why yours should have been the best, or
yeah,
at least if
sure,
you're me.
Sure, it is fun.
But we will be
We'll be
keeping that
keeping
one.
Dixit.
Oh boy. And then we've got another one that now I'm a few games into. I'd played it before, but this was a first play for you.
Yeah.
And that's Dune Imperium.
And we actually watched the Dune movie a couple of months ago with my siblings, and so I was like, oh, kind of cool, the theme.
It's actually probably almost been closer to almost a half a year ago now.
Yeah,
It's been-
probably. I actually
It
don't
was like
remember
November,
when that
wasn't
was.
it?
I
Maybe.
can't remember.
Maybe it wasn't that long ago.
It
but
was. It
seemed-
was before November.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's probably been. It's been. It's been a while.
Yeah, woofda. Yeah, that's been a while. I can't believe we're in April. The end of April, actually. So yeah, this was my first time playing through this one. My older brother had bought the Dune game that had come out before this one, I believe, and so
Yeah.
that one you said was multiple hours long and whatever. And so then when you came home with Dune Imperium, and you're like, oh, it's supposed to be the better version of it,
I think
whatever.
the easier one to get into.
Yeah. So, okay. So then I was like, oh dear, like how many hours am I in for on this one? Like, I don't know. But I really liked this one. It was fun to play, and I would say it should stay in our collection.
Yeah, I would agree. I think every time I play it, it's a deck builder, but and a worker placement combined. In the deck building, you don't get quite as many cards, I think, as in some other games.
Yeah.
One that we'll probably be talking about as another D game. But sometimes you get a lot more cards. This one, I don't feel like you get too many. But each game kind of feels different because of that. I think, or the few that I've played so far. But yeah, I look forward to getting some more plays of this in. Yeah, hopefully eventually we'll get to try your brother's Dune game, but like I
Yeah.
said, I think that one's multiple hours long, and it's also, I think it's better at a higher player count, so you need like 6+ people is when it plays best.
Yeah.
And then each person's character and stuff play like completely differently, which is what makes it difficult. It's like
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 Root?
Root, but 6 times longer.
Great, because I love Root already.
Well, you've only played that like one time.
Twice.
Oh boy.
Roaring right.
Yes. So this, along with some others that we will be getting to, will be a part of our Dino Mania, which will happen in early June. So if you want to kind of see some playthroughs and some videos ranking our dinosaur games, definitely subscribe and hit the notification so you'll see when those come out. But it'll come out around the same time, I think, as the new Jurassic World movie. So it'll be kind of when we're going through all those, you'll see probably a bunch more of the dinosaur games because they all seem to start out with Dino, surprisingly. So they're all starting with D. So that was probably going to be about a third of the total D games that we have.
Yeah.
But this one in particular is Dinosaur Island, Rawr and Right. It's kind of got a basis in the original Dinosaur Island, if you'd played that. But also brings in some things from the new Dinosaur World. And all three of them are from Pandasaurus games. And you're just kind of trying to do your park and whatever, but it is obviously from the name, Rawr and Right. You're rolling some DNA type dice and kind of drawing your park
In a
throughout the
little
game.
grid
Yeah.
system. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, you and Jesse like this game, so I don't feel like it's going to be leaving our collection. So, and I've only played it once. It was my first time playing it to get, through the Ds. So, I don't know. I would say it's a little overwhelming for me, even with my history of playing the other dinosaur games. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's, if you've played one of those other ones, I think most of it makes sense. Like, it's a very similar feeling to them with the kind of phase-like feel, which I think makes it a little easier to follow along what's supposed to be done when in these types of games. But yeah, I would say I would keep it.
Yeah.
Because
I doubt this is going to leave our collection anytime soon.
Yes, but it also, I don't know, there's something about it that feels like it could have just been its own game again, but then I think they would just have 3 big board games with very similar feels.
Yeah, I think
so that's probably why it was a Rawr and Right.
Hard to do, though.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Then we're just going to get right into it. I didn't know if this would be the next one that I'd pick or not.
Nice.
But this is actually a friend's game that we played, and it's actually a W. Welcome to Dino World. We just Pepper and I played this one, and it's actually quite similar to the Rawr and Right, and quite similar to some of these other ones too, where you're building your park. You're drawing it out on a little grid, and you're trying to complete objectives and stuff. This one's a very solid one as well. I think you could probably, if you're looking to getting some dinosaur-themed game and you wanted it to kind of be a smaller thing, because that's one of the things with a lot of the ones we're going to get to they are very much table hog games. If you just are wanting a smaller version of that to kind of get a feel for it and see if you like it, I would definitely recommend either the Welcome to Dino World or Dinosaur Island Roar. Right? I think you're gonna get a very similar feel from both of them.
You're gonna want the trilogy.
Gonna want the trilogy.
World, Island, Roar, right?
Yeah, probably. I think if you got the Rawr and Right, I think this one actually came out around the same time as the original Dinosaur Island. Funny. So the Rawr and Right came out later. So this one actually came out before that.
Copyright.
I don't know about that, but yeah, they all have very similar feels. I don't know that you would necessarily need both, but it's a friend's game, so. Obviously, we're not going to call that.
Yeah, thanks for letting us borrow it, but we will give it back to you.
Okay, and then we're just going to get right into it. I don't think your favorite one has come up yet, right?
No, I don't think so.
And I guess I didn't look at the list again to make sure.
Has yours come up yet?
Well, it might be coming right now. But
so predictable.
I almost forgot, because we kind of have this one. In such a big box, we have it over.
Yeah.
We didn't have it in the D games.
I had to remind you we had to play this.
I know, I had totally forgotten, and it was good because I need to get it played before re-ranking our top 50 of all time, just to see kind of where I was still feeling for it, because I hadn't played it in a little bit, but yeah, I'd played this one quite a bit with Jesse, but I think I
I've
played with
played this
you
twice.
a while, and then,
Yeah.
this was your second time. You hadn't played it in probably over a year.
No.
But yeah, I guess, what were your thoughts after your second play of it? I don't know if you could remember what you were thinking after your initial play, because it
Yeah.
was a while ago.
I wasn't, like, I was super overwhelmed after my first play. Like, I don't think it's that hard of a game, but I think there is strategy that you need to do in order to score well. And so it's not hard to play, but I think it is important that you score the best way you can. And I think that is just a little overwhelming for me. And I felt that same way again in my second playthrough. It just was really frustrating because I felt like you were way ahead of me, and like you constantly had resources. You had like a million cards. I was like scrounging to get resources so that I could buy a card, and I was just like, ugh, so rough. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, I don't understand. And so, I don't know. It's frustrating. I would say that it's fine to play. I think the monsters is interesting and stuff. I feel like that always scares me, but then when you say it's just the highest dice rolled, I'm like, oh, well, that's not difficult at all. You just rolled that, So I feel like there are aspects to it that I think are more daunting or that are less daunting than I think they are. But there are, like, those little pieces, I think, that just kind of make me hesitant to, like, really get into it. And I think I could if I played it 10 times. Like, if we had it on, like, the 10 by 10, I feel like I would have figured it out a little bit more. But for right now, I just still don't, after 2 plays, I still just don't really understand.
Yeah, and the good thing about this one, I think, is how it's all packaged really well to make it a lot easier to set up.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think this one, if it didn't have the
I would not
trays
want
and
to
stuff
do
like
this.
that, it would take way too long to set up, and I think that would cut the experience by quite a bit. But no, this is probably, I believe, my favorite D game that we'll be going through. So yeah, I like it quite a bit, and I still do after that gameplay.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably it's not that like crazy, like you said, the combat system isn't that crazy, but it's one of my favorites just because it's kind of like I could roll 1 die against something that's rolling 5, and still potentially win with 1/6 if they rolled badly. So I just really love that about this game, and that's just. It's the worker placement and stuff. That's something that always gets to me, and I like how you dwell them on the board and whatnot. But this is usually a game I don't win either when I'm playing against Jesse. So I think I do things kind of like maybe you were saying. I think I do things that seem funner, but they don't actually score points in the end. But yeah, I have a great time with this one.
Yeah, I don't think this will be leaving our collection
anytime
soon. We got the whole deluxeified version, so
yes.
I think that one will have to stay. If nothing else, we can pull it out as a cool party trick.
Yeah. But now we're getting into those games I was talking about, and this is the Dinosaur Island, the original one from Pandasaurus.
One of our first games in our collection, like one of the...
It was one of the bigger ones. Yeah. Yeah, one of the bigger ones that I wasn't...
Bigger at the time. I've seen way worse now.
Right, yeah, this box is actually pretty packed, full. So yeah, it was definitely the biggest table hog we'd had at the time.
And you guys were mad about it too, like
it was
crazy. Loved it.
I think at that time it had become like probably mine, and I don't know if Jesse's like top game, or favorite game at the time, because I really loved the theme.
Even though it didn't make its top 50 last year. Or no, it was 47.
It made Jesse's.
Yours. It made Jesse like
just
like
barely.
47.
Yeah, it had fallen quite a bit for him,
Yahtzee's
even though he claims
better.
like. Well, he likes it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to this one, I actually liked it more than. Well, I don't know how to say it. So, spoiling kind of maybe one of the other ones. Dinosaur World it does a lot of very similar things, but then it adds some additional things and smooths a few things out from this one, I think. And I may like that one better. So in my eye, this one had kind of dropped quite a bit, but then getting back to it, I was like, You know, now I remember why I really, really like this game, because it's still, even with that one, there's enough differences that it's still a very fun game, very solid. I don't think you need to own both, but I think you could still buy either, and I think you'd have a good time with either of them. I think if you played Dinosaur World first and you really like that one, I don't know if you'd want to go to this one, because then I think it's going to feel like lesser.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's still a very solid game.
And I mean, I've only, I kind of guess, spoiler alert, we probably should have put them on the table at the same time, but I just learned Dinosaur World, and so I played it one time, and I just kind of was like, yeah, I like Dinosaur Island better. And I don't know if that's just because I'm more familiar with it, or I just found the tiling to be a little bit hard with the Jeeple thing, too, to try and get that in the best arrangement as possible. So, I don't know. Right now, I would rather play this one, and if we play Dinosaur World some more, and again, if I build up my ability and strategy in that one, maybe I'll like that one more, but I really do just like how clean this one feels.
Yeah, I think you'd be fine with either of these. And I think they'd still both stay in our collection for now, but if we ever had to get very serious about culling, I'm guessing we would maybe get rid of one of them, because especially if we still have the Rawr as well, just because there's
well, and there are like probably 3 other dinosaur games on our shelf too that maybe aren't in the D's, but
yes. Well, I'll just put this one up here too at the same time, since we kind of already talked about it.
There you go.
So yeah, this is even bigger box with even more stuff, and we actually got I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I think it's right above there's the 3 expansion little boxes. You can leave them. Oh. That's fine. But I haven't even explored those that much yet, so I think the only thing that hurts this one too, unlike Dwellings, I feel like the setup for this one takes quite a bit of time. It just feels like a lot of stuff, and when you're putting it away too, it feels like a lot of stuff. So that's the only thing I think that hurts this one, is the setup and teardown time. So I guess if you were going to play it multiple times in a row, that would make it a little bit easier to want to get it to the table. But I think that's probably what hurts it, to not allow it to become like one of my favorite D games. But still very solid. Oh boy.
The downfall of Pompeii. She's like, I'm not going to talk during this one.
I don't have anything to say.
Wow. Well, I guess I do. I love this game. It's my favorite D game. It's possibly one of my favorite games of all time. Jesse got me these sick little toga meeples for Christmas, and so this game is just chef's kiss. I love it so much. We actually get to throw meeples into the volcano now. But it's just a really simple tile placement game, I guess, at the second half, and just, I don't know, I guess worker placement.
I don't know. It's sort of some area control influence. I don't know exactly what grid movement when you're moving the people, trying to get them out. Just a funky little game.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird because it was like I think Jesse got this for me like 2 or 3 Christmases ago. I don't know, just kind of randomly, and I like love it so much. It's so great. I love it. It's just fun to try and get your people out. It's fun to throw people in the volcano. I just love it.
Yeah, it's a very fun game. It looks like an old game, but it has
a
lot of good.
The greatest. I will give you that.
It has a lot of fun stuff in it. But yeah, definitely if you're going to get this, I don't know what the Etsy shop was or whatever that he got it from, but you gotta get the toga meeples, or else get some meeples to put in here, because the original
they just had cubes.
If they were just meeples, that'd make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But maybe that was just too real.
Yeah, could be, but it's all in fun, I guess.
Yeah, it's a fun little one, and I wouldn't say it's too difficult. It's probably one of my favorites in the D's as well, just because it's pretty quick. The setup of the cards is the only thing that's a little funky sometimes. I don't think it's a very easy thing to just remember, unless you play it a lot. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, it's a really good game.
He plays it with me because he loves me.
Oh boy. actually the last one we got played
Oh, yes.
for our Ds, and that's Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. And I think this is one. I'm trying to remember if it's on like all the Dice Tower or on a couple of their top 100 games of all time lists.
The best party nominee.
Yeah,
And a
seal of excellence. So yeah, I know they like it quite a bit as a party game, and it can play 4 to 12 players. And it's kind of like a werewolf type game where you get rolls and stuff. You each get dealt a role at the beginning. Someone's a murderer, someone's a forensic scientist, and the other are just investigators. You get some items in front of you and a weapon. And the murderer picks 2 of them to what they killed the person with, and then what item they left at the scene.
Yep.
And everyone's trying to figure out who did it and with what.
Yeah.
So it's just I think this
An
one.
advanced clue.
Yes. But I think this one is kind of one of the sort of easier, like, deception type games.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have to totally lie. Like, some of those get a lot more difficult when you have to really, like, you're put on the spot and have to lie.
Yeah.
This one, it could still happen.
Yeah.
But usually you can kind of, get the focus off you maybe and talk about some other item.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. It kind of is group dependent, and you need a lot of players.
So group dependent, I think, and that is why I think this one we are not sure about. If we're going to keep it, if we're going to call it, I don't know. I don't know. I did really like it when we first played it, but after our last playthrough, I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I'd be sad to see this one leave. I mean, it's a decent group game, and I think it's fun enough or interesting enough, but it is heavily dependent.
Yeah, I mean, now that we got Dixit 2,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say, like, comparatively, I think I probably like Dixit the least, maybe, of the people we played with. And not to say that that means I dislike it. I just probably liked it the least, and I still would pick that over this now, I think.
Yeah. And I think that Dixit, to use
they're
an example,
different, but
yeah, is just more of an approachable group game. I don't think that the people we regularly would be in a gaming situation with would choose this game as a group game.
Right. Yeah. It's not that it's bad. It's just, I don't know.
It can be hard if you're not, kind of more outgoing to argue, that you're not the murderer, or, if you just don't know how to go about doing that game theory.
Right. So, yeah. I would be fine to see it go, but I don't know for sure if we called it. We'll probably by the end of the year we might go back to again and see if there's like additional games now that we've kind of played through them all. Then see if there's more to call.
And if the shelf is filled by the end of the year, he might have to.
I'm sure it will be. Oh boy! And now we got our second game that does not belong to us.
I didn't put this one on the list.
I know that's because Abby and I played it.
Oh.
You didn't want to come down and play it when you looked down from the stairs like Cookie usually does.
Nice.
You didn't want to come down here, run down here, and play it with us.
Do you think this is Abby's favorite D game?
I don't know.
I don't know. She
probably
does like
likes
Pompeii,
it quite
though.
a bit. Yeah. I would guess it's one of her top ones.
Yeah.
And it's another good party type style game, which I would probably say I prefer this one over Deception as well, by quite a bit. And that might, I guess they're both kind of games we don't have a lot of in our collection.
Yeah.
This is like a real-time game, so you're trying to race against the clock to go through a little dungeon, killing baddies.
Getting potions.
Yes, to heal up and stuff. I like it quite a bit. And I think if it was in our collection, I wouldn't allow it to go. I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't know how many times you've played it.
Like 3 or 4 times, I think.
So. And we actually played this at the Not Your Average Board Game Tournament.
Yes,
and
Dice Baby.
some people are a little bit better at this than others. Some people struggle a little bit more.
You have to be able to make a path and quickly. So it's kind of like deduction in your mind. I mean, you have like a minute, I think, is the easy mode. To like draw a pathway through the dice that allows you to survive or whatever. And so
Yeah, and Abby and I the other night were playing it with I think the 30-second mode.
oh
so,
yeah,
so that
Who
really
won?
gets you thinking. I think I ended up winning
ah man,
both the games, but I lucked out because there were, I think, multiple times where Abby could have increased what she was doing if she had just moved one more spot. But I think the time was, I mean, it just
Yeah.
seems like by the time you were ready to, okay, I'm going to draw my line, it was already like,
10
when it gets to
seconds
the 10 seconds, it goes click, 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 click. It's like, oh no, and then she just ran rushing through it.
Yeah,
So yeah, it makes
It
for
was quite fun.
some fun moments.
yeah, it does.
You know.
I'm glad she.
And
got
it's
this one.
also,
Did we get her this one, or did she buy this one herself?
I think.
Yeah,
I think
we
got
gifted
it.
this to her.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a really good game, and it's
And
also
it's cute.
it's also one, even if you're
Super
not
cute.
great at it, and you fail the dungeons and stuff, it's a short game, so it's not like you're like, oh, I just wasted an hour and a half playing this game, and I just got totally destroyed and knew I wasn't going to win from the second round. That's another good thing about it. Ooh, and then we get to Dice Forge, which is one of our
One of our early
oldest
ones. Yeah.
classic ones again. And this one is one very unique where you're actually forging your dice. You're changing the faces on the dice.
Yeah.
And I've kind of been disappointed that more games haven't done that since.
It is really neat how they did that. I like that. I'd like to see that mechanism, but in a different game.
And it kind of makes me think of like the roll and write type thing where you're writing on things and changing things throughout a game. So I've thought many times, like, I wonder if there would be a way to like write on dice and change the faces that way, and so you don't have to
Yeah.
break off the sides or whatever, which is probably the only somewhat bad thing about the game, is
Yeah.
sometimes those are hard to get off. But I think the more you play it, the easier they are to kind of get off, because they kind of loosen up a little bit. But it's still not easy to get off.
Sure.
Wow. And we actually, I believe, have some videos on this one if
Yeah.
you want to see. I think is it me and Jesse, I believe. So we get our thoughts on it, and we also did a playthrough of it as well, a 2-player. So I really still like this one quite a bit. If we played it more, I would consider getting the expansion, because I think I would just change up a few things as well. Freshen it up a little bit since we have had it so long, but I just don't know that it... like, if we weren't doing this challenge, that's part of, I think, the reason why I wanted to play through all the games in the collection, just to kind of see again if all these games still lived up and were worth keeping. And I think this one is, but I still don't think, like, if we hadn't been doing this, I don't know if we would have played it.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have.
I don't know. It just doesn't get to the table if it's just me and you, and so I feel like this is an easy one to pull out for other people. Like, I know we played it with, like, Chloe and Peter, and I know Abby played it, and so I don't know. I'm not super partial to keeping this one. I do think it's neat. It's just, I think that's absolutely true that it just wouldn't come off the shelf, I don't think, if it weren't for this. So, which is kind of sad, but I don't really know what to do about it.
Yeah, I think it's still... Because I try to think like some of the classic ones we had, like, originally, kind of the popular ones and stuff. And I try to compare it in my mind to some of those, how I feel about it, and I don't know if it's probably in the middle.
Yeah.
Middle to upper echelon, because kind of like one that we'll eventually get to in the S's. We played on our 10x10 last year, Stone Age. That's another classic one that I really like, but I'm just like, I think I'd rather get back to this one than that.
I don't know.
Which is kind of sad.
I feel like I would feel the same, though, about this one if we had put it on the 10x10 last year. Like, I feel like I'd just be sick of it.
I don't know. Maybe. It's a little bit faster, I think, than Stone Age, so maybe it wouldn't have felt like...
That's
But
true.
I don't know.
You win both either way, so it doesn't matter.
Oh boy. And then we get to another very classic game of Dominion.
Yes. Dominion.
And this is one that's had a lot of expansions, and I think they continue to come out today. But yeah, this is a very quick deck building game, and it's just so smooth.
Yeah.
It's crazy that this is like the first deck builder.
Yeah.
And it's still probably... I obviously have not tried even close to all the deck building games, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's still the smoothest deck builder ever made. Just playing your cards,
You're
buying
literally
cards,
just going through a deck.
doing it again and again. And it's just smooth, and it still feels good. I think every time I've played it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised I don't play this one more, because I like it quite a bit.
I was just thinking that because I feel like I've been in the last year like super card driven in games. Like if they have some sort of like hand management, deck drafting, whatever, card drafting, I feel like those are things I've been gravitating to in the last year, and I feel like why don't we play Dominion more? Because that's like legit the only thing you do with it is the card stuff. And that's like what I love most about some of these games that I've played in the last year, like Dune Imperium or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah, I think maybe in my inner mind, what scares me about if I got into Dominion is the fact that there are so many expansions out there that I'd have to go get all of them.
You didn't
or maybe
have
not all
the
of them. But, yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, I think that's the only reason I'm hesitant to get more into it, because I'm like, I just want to try all the different combos and stuff out there. And I'm sure you could probably we do have one of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could just look up like maybe the top 5 and only get, those. Because I think that's kind of what I did with that one.
Yeah.
Was look for some of the top ones, and they said that was like kind of the first one that they would recommend getting into. So maybe I could do that. Because I'm sure there are, when there gets to be that many, there's obviously going to be some that are more duds usually, I would think. Maybe there's no duds.
They can't all be amazing.
But yeah, if you are someone that is very into Dominion, let me know in a comment below what your favorite expansion is.
Yeah. I will never financially recover if I buy all the expansions.
Oh boy. So we got 2 more to go.
Oh boy. Oh, I got nothing. This is all you, Buttercup.
This is our last Dino game we've got here, and this is Dinogenics. This one, I believe, came out around the same time as Dinosaur Island. I don't think it got to as many people as Dinosaur Island did, because it was, I think, a Kickstarter. And I think Dinosaur Island kind of became available in retail, where this one, there wasn't as much of a... I think they sold some on like their website or whatever,
Okay.
but their amount of them games and stuff wasn't as much. I think they came back with an expansion in a future Kickstarter. But yeah, they kind of were. I know they were kind of compared at the time because they both came out around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But we finally, we got Jesse this one, I think, for Christmas, because they did have some stock on their store, and we knew we wanted to do like a dinosaur thing, and we hadn't ever had a chance to play this one. To see what our thoughts were, and I thought like the wooden bits in this one, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the Dinosaur Island, Dinosaur World. It's all kind of plastic stuff. This is all wood, and I tend to prefer wood to plastic, so I really wanted to try this one and see kind of how it felt different, and this one actually feels quite a bit different, I think, than those as a family of games, the Dinosaur Island ones, and I think you could own both of them. We will... Like I said, we'll have videos on this and kind of ranking them. I don't want to spoil anything, but this one's going to, for me, be a contender for that maybe top dinosaur game. I like it quite a bit. So
Snap, crackle, and pop.
I would say, if you have the chance to play this one, try it out. I would try out maybe both of them, this one and Dinosaur Island or World, and see which one you think is the best. But I think I could see you liking any of the 3. They're all really great games.
Well, if I had to judge them based on their covers alone, this one would not win.
Wow. She's scared of that T-Rex. Oh boy, and then we get to this last one.
This is the last one.
Which might also
Oh, boy.
be the longest one that we've
Yes,
had.
yes. This is like OG.
Before... It's like when we first started dating, like over 10 years ago.
It's like we had Catan, and then what did we get? Catan, Ticket to Ride, and then it was like Stone Age, Dead of Winter, and 5 Drives.
Yeah, I don't remember if all of those were, but I believe this one was, along with like 5 Tribes for sure. We're on Will Wheaton's Tabletop, which is something I was watching at the time as I got more into the,
It was like
gaming.
12 years ago.
I know, and
oh my gosh.
And looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I got Dead of Winter. But I think at the same time, like that was around the same time that The Walking Dead was coming out. So I really like that show.
Yeah.
And I probably was gravitating towards this even more because of that.
Yeah.
That really helped. That. Oh, hi, Cookie. How did you get all the way up here?
Are you going to help us?
What do you think of Dead of Winter, Cookie? But yeah, actually, Jesse and I had played this one as a 2-player game when we had first gotten it a few times. But really, I haven't played it. I don't think we've played it since. I know you.
I think
Have you ever played it?
No, you played it one time, right? Have you ever played it since?
I think we played it a couple times when we first got it.
I was thinking this is like legit the second time we played it in 12 years.
I'm guessing it's probably, yeah. It's definitely less than 5. It might be the 3rd or 4th time.
Really?
Yeah.
It is how many years ago do you think you played it last?
When we first got it, so I don't know when that even would have been.
Yeah.
Because I always think in my head, like, it wasn't that long ago. But then when I start to think about it, I'm like, that probably was close to 10 years or over 10 years ago.
2011 or 12.
So, yes, it's been sitting, not played for quite some time.
That is shameful.
It has been on the shelf of shame for a long time.
It rules the shelf of shame.
It does.
It teaches the other games how to deal with it.
Yeah. And I don't know... Did this, based on like the cover and stuff, did it ever appeal to you at all?
No.
I don't think it would have. Otherwise, I think we would have played it by now.
I don't care for the zombie trope. I'm not a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I think I liked seasons 1 through 3, and then I was done because it just got way too. It's not my style. We'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, and then you were like, "Oh, it took us hours to play it," and I was like, "What is this game?"
Looking back. I mean, we were brand new, and I think this was probably too much. But I think 5 tribes would have been too, and I felt like we didn't have that much trouble with 5 tribes.
Well, but if it was just you and Jesse, this is a game which...
I think plays better with more players.
Yeah, so that could be part of it, and who knows,
And I think that's why we hadn't ever really gotten back to it, because we wanted to play it with more players, but like you said, you didn't have like that big of an interest in it.
It took me I would say, as we talk about games, I feel like it's taking me quite a lot longer than you and Jesse to get into these more crunchy ones. I know when we did our top 10 new games last year, you guys were all like, "Rah!" When I was saying I liked Maracaibo and Pulsar or whatever, you guys were like, "Who are you and what have you done?" And so like I just feel like it's just taken me more of a gradual time to get into these things.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, now that we've talked about how long it took us to play this, what were your thoughts now that you finally did?
I feel like I am not able to give like a fair thing because I like lost one of my people in the first round as the first player, and then I had one person the whole rest of the game, and I can do like one thing, and I think it just took a long time sitting there like waiting for other people to do their turns. But based on the feedback we got from the other people playing the game, I feel like maybe it wouldn't be a bad one to keep in our collection. It does play with higher player counts, and so, it might be a longer game, but if other people are having fun, it's one I'd be willing to sit and play. I wouldn't say this is one I'm going to ask to play again. Like, it's probably, but I'd be fine playing it if others wanted to.
Because, there's a bunch of different scenarios you can play. I think we played with the one that it recommends as a beginner one, so I think you'll have different... kind of things you're trying to achieve each game based on whichever one you pick, and you can play with like a more hardcore mode and stuff. So I think there's replayability there, but once again, I like it, but it does take quite a while, and if you have something like that where your character dies and you can't really get another one easily, it is a lot of waiting if you have the higher player counts, which I think it does play better at, but it also, when you do have that, it does take a lot longer to play as well. So there's
and it might not have been so bad. It was kind
of we were all learning it.
It was maybe my fault. I mean, it's your fault too, but it was
I did convince you to try to go for it.
It was maybe my fault. I didn't really understand the entire playthrough of the round, and so then that kind of influenced, and so then I was like, well, I bet it, and so anyway, it was I didn't realize that I had options.
Yes, I would have I was the one that pushed her to travel with her person, but she hadn't spent any of her dice.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I think you want to do something, because I couldn't remember how quickly it felt like things happened, but I'm like, I'm guessing you want to get something done, during your turn to be productive. But then, as we played it, you probably didn't need to do that. But you also got very unlucky. You rolled the 1 in 12
I told
result.
you guys I would roll the death on the dice no matter what. It was coming to me, and no one believed me, and I did. So.
And then, I think Abby got a new person and she
Yeah.
rolled it as well.
She
But
at least
outside
got
of that,
a new
no
person.
one else.
I
Right.
wasn't able to get a new person, and nobody else died at the table.
Right.
What did
No
Zach
one else.
have? Like 4 people by the end. Carson had like 6. I don't know.
I don't even know how many wounds they even rolled. I think I rolled.
You
the
rolled the
second
most,
most.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
right,
healed you with my doctor.
Yes, you did.
I'm a good person.
But yeah, we'll probably keep that a winter for now, but we
Yeah.
will see. I think this one's kind of on
If it doesn't
the
get
lower
back
end,
to the table, I think.
just because like Deception, I think you kind of need the right group for it.
Yeah.
And now that we've played it once, maybe if we played it with that same group,
Mm-hmm.
It'll get a little quicker and quicker since we know how to play it now. I think we're all still learning it as well.
Yeah.
Which always you can kind of tack on some extra time when everyone's learning the game. Because even like I said, I hadn't played in however long, so
Yeah.
I did not remember really how to play it either. So yes, that is all of our D games. Mainly, like I said, dinosaur games.
Yeah.
I think overall the D's are a very solid category for me. It's probably mid-8s for me on average, I would think. I don't know if are there many duds?
For you, probably not.
Yeah, for me, I don't think there's very many duds on that, so it's a pretty solid letter for me. Just because I like a lot of the dinosaur games,
Yeah.
I feel like with our collection, if you didn't like dinosaur games, it's going to probably fall a decent amount. And I don't
Yeah.
think you do. I didn't think I knew that until we started playing these, and you didn't really... You weren't really asking to play any of the dinosaur games.
Yeah, I would not say this is a strong letter for me in our. I see probably
A couple
like
games.
3 or 4 games that I'd be like, can we play these? And the rest I'm like, okay, I'll come to the table if that's what you want, and that's it. So
But,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fair. Because, a lot of the dinosaur games are bigger games, and I feel like you're gonna like them or you're not going to love them, and then they're just...
Well, and to be fair, I think I didn't like Dinosaur Island when we first got it, and I've only grown to like it ever since. And so maybe it just, with
Take some
most of
time.
these, I think it just will take time. And if they're not ones we get to the table very often, that just takes even more time.
Yeah, those are our D games, and the ones we may call Cull. We never... I don't think we
even think there's
officially
one
called any, but
For sure.
there's a
on here.
couple that we may
Yeah.
at some point. But yeah, if you want to see our future alphabet soup, when we get into the E's, F's, G's, and so on, or if you want to go back and check out our A's, B's, and C's, part 1 and part 2, definitely check those out and
Plug.
subscribe. But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling
on that content.